There are many anime out in the world right now that people are enjoying, either for the first time or binge watching it to catch up on the latest of crazes, like with Demon Slayer. But if you were to look at an anime that really pushed things over the top and led to a major shift in anime popularity, you would have to look at My Hero Academia. This show took anime to a realm of superheroes in a way that other animes have even dared to do, and the results speak for themselves. But what really drives fans to the show is the power of characters and their quirks. So with that, allow us to show you the 10 strongest characters in My Hero Academia. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 10. Deku.
100%! Barry, will you please lend me your power?
Yeah, we know, some of you are going to be ticked about this, but in truth, the reason that Deku isn't higher on this list is because he's still working on his power. Let's not forget that throughout seasons 1 and 2, he was barely keeping his body intact, and, in fact, he went to his shoot style with his legs because he damaged his arms so much that if he pushed himself in his state, he wouldn't be able to use them anymore. Yes, technically speaking, as of season 5, he can go to about 20% of One for All's power. But at times, that's just not enough. He lost to Bakugo clean in his fight against him. And against Overhaul in Season 4, he needed a certain young lady's quirk to push him to 1,000,000% to win. But that's why Deku is on this list, because when he is at his lowest, he always fights back, and he finds a way to win, making All Might and fans proud every single time. 9. Bakugo.
Shot! Autocannon!
I had to make a weak version so I didn't kill anyone.
Yeah, it's only fair that the dude who beat Deku clean should be higher than him. And sure enough, Bakugo is one of the most powerful heroes around, despite still being a studio. In fact, you could argue that he's better than certain pro heroes from the series because of how big his powers can get. His explosion quirk is not just deadly, it's versatile. He used it for big explosions, small explosions, he's used it to fly, dodge, sneak up on people, and more. You'd think he's just a straightforward brawler, but even Deku will admit that Kashan is a force on the battlefield, and he's shown it time and time again. Remember, he won the sports festival, and he overcame various obstacles to do so, including being tricked by 1B classmates who thought for sure they had him down, and yet he pushed through. His stubbornness and tenacity personified, and when you mix that with his quirk, well, would you want to fight him? 8. Eraserhead.
I erased your quirk. The judges for this exam.
Some might be confused by this one, but never forget that strength in My Hero Academia is measured by the power and ability of one's quirk. So, what happens when that quirk is erased? Enter Eraserhead, who has the ability to nullify quirks so long as he looks at them and doesn't blink. His outfit also doesn't realize what he's looking at and even ensnare them. In the USJ arc to end Season 1, Eraserhead took on an army of thugs meant to take out All Might and beat pretty much all of them on his own, despite being outnumbered and outgunned before Anomu evened the odds. So, in a one-on-one situation, or a sneak attack as Deku once said, Eraserhead is a powerful foe. And he's also shown to be quite clever in how he handles things, so he's definitely someone you don't want to tick off. Number 7. Shigaraki.
Only one. Good night, 9.
It might be a bit odd that one of the main villains of the show is so low on this list, but the definition of Shigaraki's quirk is that he can turn anything to dust, so long as he has all 5 fingers around the object. He can't just touch you with one finger and dissolve you, else he'd basically be unstoppable. However, that still makes him a dangerous threat, as he can truly dissolve anything with a touch. We saw him do it to the gate guarding UA. We saw him dismember Overhaul, kill 9 from the Heroes Rising movie, and more. True, at a distance he's no threat. But that's why he often has his League of Villains around him to ensure that he's protected and can get in close. Which he almost did once with Deku during their chat at the mall. 6. Shoto Todoroki. The idea of prodigies in My Hero Academia is nothing new. And you could argue that Shoto is the best among the prodigies like Momo, Bakugo, and more because of not just his quirk, but its versatility. His very anime backstory aside, he has half firepower and half ice power, and he can wield both with incredible power and precision. During the sports festival arc, we saw him make the giant ice wall to put down one student and literally engulf Bakugo. He got out of it, but still. In the first season, we even saw him freeze a whole building with but a touch. His fire abilities aren't at the level of his ice as of yet, due to his father's influence on his life. But once he lets loose, he can use Flash Freeze, Heat Wave, and more to truly assert himself as a dominant hero in the world. Number 5. 9. If you didn't watch the Heroes Rising movie, you might not know about 9. Simply put, he was an experiment done by the League of Villains. His original quirk was a powerful weather manipulation one. But then via All for One, he got 8 other quirks added to his person, and while they would destroy his body if overused, he could do a lot of damage in the meantime. Air blasts, summoning dragons, energy blasts, self-healing, he had an arsenal that required Deku to give one for all to Bakugo so that they, at full power, could take him down, and even then it wasn't easy. Yes, he may be dead now via Shigaraki, but the heroes of the world dodged a bullet with this one because he could have easily taken over the world if he wasn't dealt with by an outside force looking out for himself. 4. Overhaul. By and large, the main focus of the early parts of Season 4, the character known as Overhaul, was a very complex villain that had deep motivations and overwhelming power. In short, he had the power of creation and destruction just by touching you. That's right, with a single touch, he could either destroy your body or recreate it in a second. Something he proved time and time again during his arc. He even used it to merge himself with some of Yakuza members with quirks to make himself even more powerful. He was so monstrous that even characters like Night Eye, who has foresight, couldn't outwit him, and Deku needed Eri to constantly use her rewind power to heal his body and go to 1,000,000% to put him down. And if it wasn't for Shigaraki, notice how he keeps popping up? You could argue that Overhaul would be a deadlier threat in the future. And he still might if the manga is anything to go by. Number 3. Endeavor. The current number 1 hero in the world of MHA, Endeavor is a monster in many ways. Just ask Shoto. But his power is what we're talking about here, and there's a reason why he's number 3 hero without overwhelming fan support. In short, he gets stuff done. His powerful flames are able to not just burn anything in sight, he can manipulate it in ways to make it really hurt you. The Season 4 finale showed just how powerful he was when he went up against arguably the strongest Nomu yet, and won after he had to go beyond. And with his willingness to go the distance to burn his foes to the ground, he's scary. 2. All for One. The secret villain for much of the series, All for One is hailed as one of the originals in the quirk world, depending how you view the lore. It's a little ambiguous. But his power and longevity make him the greatest villain of the series so far in various ways. In short, he has the power to steal, manipulate, and give quirks. He can even manipulate unconscious people into using their quirk without their knowledge. He is the eternal enemy of the One for All users and has killed all of them save for All Might. And it was him who pushed All Might to use up the rest of his One for All sparks in order to beat him. And even then, you have to wonder, was that the plan the whole time? He will be back, and Deku and the rest better be ready when he returns. And number 1, All Might. Yes, in terms of his state right now, All Might isn't the strongest anymore. But if you can't tell, we're looking at this from an of-all-time perspective, and All Might was the personification of power and skill via his one-for-all ability. In his prime, pre-injury, he was the number 1 hero for years. His mere presence stopped crime in its tracks, and his overwhelming power put everyone to shame. He was the first to defeat All for One for good, to the extent that the villain needed multiple acts of healing to keep him alive. That should say something. And even in his weakened state, he fought and beat foes that were supposed to kill him, like the first Nomu and All for One. Yes, he's no longer able to wield that quirk, but he is the standard bearer by which strength, perseverance, and a winning smile is measured by. And you know what you are saying when he says the words, "I am here." So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at My Hero Academia and where things stand right now in terms of the power of characters in the show? Do you agree with our rankings? Do you feel that other heroes are stronger than we give them credit for? Who is your favorite My Hero Academia character? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.